Sisters, we are super excited to see you all today. I was just telling Michelle and Robert that I was messing around with graphics on Canva, and I looked up and it was like 4 minutes before the stream was supposed to start. I hadn't brushed my hair. I had to like run back, get out of my pajamas, come in here. So yeah, anyway, thank you. But we made it. We still started on time, which is kind of amazing. So hi everybody. Let's do our introductions before I just start rambling on. I'm going to start with you, Michelle, today. Tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
All right, I'm Michelle Schusterman. I'm a middle grade and young adult author, although today I will be working on my adult thriller. And my channel is Writing Workshops, Traditional Publishing Chat, and Writing Vlogs.
Thank you very much. Very nice. Always great to have you. And Robert Jones is here, aka the Story Detective. Tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
Well, I am Robert Jones, and my channel is The Story Detective, where we take my experience as a graphic artist for Marvel Comics and other companies, as well as writing and other storytelling venues, put it under a Sherlockian microscope, break down the craft, give it to the viewer, in hopes of making your journey easier.
Very, very, very nice. So it's Florida, so I literally always have ceiling fans going in every room, and I have like one little tiny hair that's like just caught in the ceiling fan, just enough to annoy me, not enough, not big enough for me to get it to stop. So I love this, Robert. Look who's first today. Very nice.
Time for everything.
Very nice, Robert. If you don't already know me, I'm Lisa Daly. I am a hybrid author, so traditionally published and indie published. And on my channel, we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. So I'm super excited to say hi to everybody this morning. Even though I had a little bit of a nutty start. Michael's here. Hello, Michael. We are very glad to see you today. Sisters, authors, friends in Canada, not early this time, but here, I don't know, you made it. You probably got here about the same time I did. So nice work. We're very glad you're here today. Mama Ward is here. Hello. Kanashi just popping in to say hi, and I plan to watch this later. Got work to do. Bye. We're super glad that you came in to say hi. Lainey, aka Not Your Mama's Bodice Rippers. She had messaged me and told me that she was also not going to make it today because she's got it's like one of those things. Anyway, she's got an appointment out today. So that sounds worse than it was. One of her kids has a dentist appointment. It's not like she has an appointment with the FBI today. Okay. Thank you so much. I sure appreciate that. So let's talk about what we are going to be working on today. And because I was rushing in here at the last second, I'm going to be tracking down our timers. So Robert and Michelle, I'm going to just leave this to you.
Okay. What are we working on today? I'm working on my thriller, and my goal is to get a synopsis of the complete book. And right now I'm like almost at the halfway point.
Ooh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm going to be working on my craft book today. And also through the month of October, I decided to dust off a spooky story that I started a while back because I needed to write some fiction and something that wasn't a whole bunch of effort in between chapters on this craft book. So I'm kind of excited about that. It's a fixer-upper, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Did I send you, Robert, my I think I did send it to you, my nonfiction, although I don't know if the beginning part definitely would apply to what you're doing. The rest of it, not as much, maybe.
Actually, no, I didn't get it. We did talk.
Okay. We did talk about it. Okay. I'll try to remember to be a better friend and send that to you. So I love this cheese flavor Skittle. Well, hello. Super glad to see you. Very nice. Tell us what you're working on today, cheese flavor Skittle. I love that name. Also, the avatar is very cool. So glad to see you here today. Ms. Swift. What? Awesome. Happy to see you here today. I have some questions to ask you about your love life later. No, I'm kidding. And here on a separate tab, the tomfoolery to get all the channels, all the views. Thank you. Mama Ward's like click, 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 click. Yeah. So something kind of funny. Yesterday, I was part of a launch of my very first Kickstarter, which we'll talk about a little bit
Yes.
after our first sprint. I know it's been a really interesting experience. But we did like a live stream launch party, which I was like, oh, this will be cool because then every person who was on could do their channels. But we had too many people for like the middle tier of StreamYard. So I had to go up to like the professional, whatever, the $50 a month one. And so this morning I had all these additional options for channels. So in addition to your channels, I think I have like every social media channel that I could possibly have because I was like, well, I'm paying for it. I might as well broadcast it, everything. So yeah, anyway, pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. So Mama Word is beta reading a dragon story for a fellow indie author today. Love that. Love Fixer Upper Story Seeds. Yes, love that. Stacy's here. Hello, Stacy. We're super glad to see you. Lysandra. All right, Lysandra's going to be reading through first draft, taking notes. Love that. Love that. Taking SHU to new levels. I should know what that is, but I have not had my extra caffeine this morning.
I don't know what that is either.
All right, you're gonna have Mama Word. It's gonna be so obvious when she tells us.
Probably.
Shut the hell up. I don't know. All right, you got to fill us in. Sorry, I don't kiss football players. Woo! love that. All right. Oh, that's so great. Love that. All right, cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our first 5-minute sprint. Oh, there we go. Stream Hoppers United. Love that.
Okay, I never would have guessed that.
That was my closest one. Shut the hell up. Well, we would never say that. Okay. So, well, we might, but not to you. Okay. So let's go ahead and start with our 5-minute warm up sprint. We have some good questions today, and I'm kind of excited to like dig in. Actually, I have a question today. A marketing question because I'm doing something I've never done before. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and share for our warm up timer. Let me get this, make it gigantic. All right, everybody. Who's ready for our 5-minute warm up sprint?
Me.
All right. Let's get started. We're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Let's sprint. All right, we are back. So, how did everybody do on that last sprint? Get your
Good.
documents open, get your water. I have my giant pink drink today.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to be good. I haven't had one all week because I was like having a habit where every single day was going to Starbucks for breakfast. And Mike was like, "You're basically commuting. Like you work from home and you're commuting to Starbucks every day." And I'm like, damn it. He's right. But today I had to like drop off some packages this morning. And then I'm like, "Ooh, I could just go to Starbucks while I'm out there." Okay, so I got my stuff. I got my stuff up. I am very excited that we have everybody here today. Avi, the author, is here. Yay. Very nice. Yes, there we go. Warm up timer means warm up coffee timer. Very, very good. Love that. Cynthia's here. Hello. RC is here. Yep, awesome. We are super glad to see you. So, I am working on reading. This is kind of crazy. I'm trying to write my questions for an interview I'm doing this afternoon for the podcast for this book called Raiders of the Lost Heart, which comes out in December. So that's pretty good. I'm just like trying to come up with my questions because I'm doing my interview later this afternoon. Vixen's here. Hello, Vixen. So I wanted to tell you guys. So here's my question. Let me just show you our thing. So a group of romance authors and I did our Kickstarter. Lainey, who is, as you guys know, she is a regular on the stream. We know her as Not Your Mama's Bodice Rippers. She has done several Kickstarters, but it was her idea to do this one. And so I'm kind of excited about it. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Hold on just one second. So I'll tell you a little story before we get started here. My mom's friend, Chris, is like a second mother to me. They've been friends for like 45 years, best friends for like 45 years. And Chris could not read my new book, The Cutting Edge. And she was trying like those magnifying sheets, but her eyesight's pretty bad. And so my mom said, "Hey, are you planning to do a large print edition?" Which I have never done a large print edition for any of my books. But I was thinking about, how easy KDP is, and I could literally just reformat it and print just one if I wanted to. And so I started thinking about how I would print one large print edition. I'd reformat and, just doctor the cover a little bit to fit the new size. And I thought, well, I'll just do one for her, even though it'll be like an author copy and have that strip on it. And in my regular Friday Zoom call with a bunch of other romance authors from the Romance Author Mastermind rom-com group, we were talking about this. And I was asking, hey, have you, because I thought, well, if I'm going to reformat it, maybe I should consider, putting it up on Amazon and the rest of the retailers. And we were talking about it, and in like 5 minutes, Lainey had like gotten everybody all excited about doing a Kickstarter for what we are calling Love and Lust in Large Print, because no one should have to squint at the good parts.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Right? We had so much fun making the social media graphics for this. Like
I bet.
all the funky old ladies and hottie guys. So anyway, so we're doing this Love and Lust in Large Print, and it's kind of cool. We've done different boxes, and I love the fact that like we literally put this together. Like we literally had the idea for this like 10 days ago. We meet every Friday. It was the Friday before last. And so we grouped these into different book boxes. So each one has 3 or 4 different books. We try to do about the same page length for each box. So you've got like a holiday box, you've got a rom-com box. Ooh, there's my book. We've got a short and steamy. So these are novellas, and then a sultry stack. And that one's also got 3 books in it. So, and it comes in like pretty holiday wrapping, fancy boxes, the whole deal. Oh, here you can see we just had so much fun putting this thing together. So here's the thing though. Like my theory about this was going to be like, this is either going to go great because it's really hard to find books in large print. And so my thought was it will either go like gangbusters or it'll be like wah, 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 and I realized my audience already read, like my newsletter audience, which I have a pretty good sized newsletter list. They already read either ebooks or regular print books. And so my question for you guys was whether or not you had any brilliant ideas for how we reach the grandmas, because this is a different audience for us. And yet, I think it's really, when I told my mom that I was going to do this for Chris, and then when I told her how everybody else got all excited, I have like 13 other author friends who are like, me too, that she was really excited about it. But I don't know if we're reaching our good audience. Although, to be fair, we did fund yesterday or fund first thing this morning. So after just like 24 hours, which is super awesome. So, Mama has a good question. Cozy box. We we didn't we did not do a cozy, but that is a great. So everybody in this group of authors writes open door romance. So they're a little they're like medium steamy or low steamy to high steamy. But I think that's a great idea, right? Because cozy authors or cozy audiences are often the same as the large print. Michael, that is one of our taglines.
That's hysterical. Oh my God.
We have a lot. I should show you guys all the I'll show you guys all. Well, here, let me see if I can. Let me unshare this. Hold on. Let me show you some of the fun. I'll just run through them like super quick. Some of the really funny social media posts that we did, because I did one that's like dirty and that I did just like for fun. Which you guys, am I showing the wrong one? Sorry, I just showed the wrong one. I'll show you guys this, but I'm going to go really fast over the one that's smutty. It's about to be not suitable for work. All right, let's see. There we go. Okay. So I was just working on one. So we have, because nobody should have to squint at the good parts. We have, it's so big. Size does matter. We have a couple of these ladies. Nobody should have to squint at the good parts. Big print, big love, big everything. Grandma's really hoping for something big under the tree this year.
Oh my God.
That was a dirty one. I'm going to go right past those. Buy your booby some books. Bigger is better. I like big smut and I cannot lie. I think we can all agree when it comes to romance novels, bigger is better. Oh, this is the one I was just working on. If you need these, you need this. So that was it. We had a ton of fun, but I also think like that it's not my normal audience. So I'm we're all sort of kind of figuring out like, okay, and also Kickstarter is not, like where Kickstarter has a built-in audience of younger readers. Older readers, a lot of them have never done a Kickstarter, like have never funded a Kickstarter before. So the whole thing is kind of interesting. Heavy, the author, Lisa in large print. Awesome. Now they get 50 shades for over 50. Holy crap. That is awesome. Please let me steal it. Love, love, love. Thank you. Thank you very much. I had no idea how this was going to go. Lainey set the whole thing up. Like we all did parts of it. Like I did some socials and the other authors did some socials. We had like some people were on the swag. Some people were on the packaging. It was incredible. Like, because everybody was doing their part. There were no slackers in the group. And it just was like so positive and easy. So if I ever do it again, I would like to have 13 friends. Stacy said, don't think that it won't translate. I've started reading ebooks just because I can adjust the size when my eyes hurt. Oh, that's true. It's funny because yesterday when we started, we did a little live stream party for it. And I thought for sure, like we were all like, oh, we should wear a tiara when, somebody buys one or whatever. But what we ended up doing, which is like, how many people have reading glasses within their immediate vicinity of their desk? And how many do you have? And I had like 3 or 4, and everybody had like multiple pairs of reading glasses. So anyway, Steal Away. Thank you. That's going to go on our next social media post because it was freaking awesome. So, anyway, let's go ahead and do another sprint. If you guys have thoughts on how to reach an older audience, which is important, obviously, for us, because we're looking primarily for women who are like in their 50s and up, but it's also a really important audience to be able to reach for, like mystery, because their audience tends to be, older. So yeah, it's just one of those things where you go, I don't know, I never really tried to reach large print readers before, but I'm fascinated to see how it works. So, and I'm super excited that we got funded on our first day, and we have some hilarious stretch goal swag, like hilarious. Hilarious. Yeah, it's kind of awesome. Like, we just had so much fun with it. I think that was the best part, because I know Kickstarter, like doing a Kickstarter to sell books can be stressful if you're trying to do it on your own. Although everybody I know who's been doing them has, they feel pretty successful right away. You know whether or not you're funded and how many books you have to order, so you're not going to be outlaying a ton of money if you're don't fund to the level that you want to. And like Lainey, for example, I think she did her first Kickstarter. I want to say it was less than a year ago, because she did it right after Romance Author Mastermind. And I think this is her third or fourth that she's been involved with since then. And she loves them. So it's definitely something, if you're an aspiring author and you want to do a Kickstarter project, or if you are an established author, or if you're like us, a group of authors where you're going to try and sort of put your marketing power, all together to do something. An idea for getting younger people to buy for the older generation. Yeah, right. I mean, it makes such a great gift. Yes, exactly. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. I tried to tag them on Instagram yesterday, but I didn't think about doing like a hashtag for them. You can't tag them on it. Like, you can tag like their sort of sub Twitter handles or whatever, but you can't tag the general organization. But you could do like a hashtag instead of. I love this. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you. Super cool. Anyway, it's been really fun. And I'm glad that I got to do a ride along for my first Kickstarter, that I don't try and do it all on my own, because again, we had 13 people, 14 people doing all the work, but it did not feel so as overwhelming as I thought it was going to be. So, all right, let's start with our very first writing sprint. When we come back, we're going to answer some viewer questions. And if you have any questions, if you came because you have a writing question today, just drop it in the chat and we will be happy to discuss. All right, here we go. Let's get our first 20-minute sprint going this morning. I'm super excited and in the mood to write. All right, everybody, stretch those fingers, get your water bottle, make sure your brain is hydrated. Let's roll. Here we go. 3, 1. All right, here we go. So let me just get back to our little thing here. Let's see what we've got. All right, fantastic. So let's take some questions. How's your how'd you do on your the first sprint, Robert?
I did pretty well.
Awesome.
Looking at some research here on the character stance, it was just interesting to me that we have so many craft books that talk about plot comes first because the event shape characters. And then looking back at the early self-publishing, when a lot of people followed that, the ones who got traditional publishing contracts, in interviews that they asked what the difference was between their first self-published work and the traditional publishing,
Uh-huh.
they said they made it more character-based.
Ah, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
Yet those same companies will put out all those books that say plot comes first. So you have to think about that for a minute.
Right, right. That's good. I can see that. 1,000 great books. Hello. Came late. Managed to write 60 words in 5 minutes. Yes, that's awesome. Hello. We are super glad to see you. How did you do on that last sprint, Michelle?
Really good, actually, especially considering I had to stop and take Rosa out because she was harassing me.
She was harassing you. Odin has started doing this thing. I was napping on the couch the other day, and he comes. He's he's like this big. He comes running towards the couch and then smashes his front paws right near like where on the cushion, but right where my head is. So he didn't hurt me, but it's like jostling. And I'm
Oh.
like, how did he learn to do that? And it is so annoying. But he wants to walk. He'll just like do that circle, do that over and over and over again. It's like, holy crap, dog. So yeah, he's become more demanding. All right, we have a great question here. I don't know how to say your name. Is it cut? There's probably it's probably something super obvious. How do I say this? Cut
wire 3 or just cut wire? Maybe
cut
the
wire.
3
Oh,
is
cut
a
wire.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. How do I map out relationships by describing how each character acts around each other? So I think that we can talk through this. My initial instinct is you have to really be super clear on what each character's core wound is. Like, what is the thing that sort of stands in their way for accomplishing their goals or getting to what they want? And I think that's always a good place to start, because you start there. What's each character's core wound? And then you figure out how can this character really dig around and mess with this one's core wound, and vice versa. So Michelle, you look like you've got something to say on this. What do you think?
I think that was actually really great advice.
Yeah.
I'm just really like, I don't know exactly what we mean by mapping out relationships, but I think if I'm going to add on to what Lisa said, I think remembering that all characters have secrets, even if they aren't like huge explosive secrets. Everybody has some information they keep to themselves, and so how does that inform the way they respond and react to each other?
Right.
That always helps me.
Yes.
That is such a great way to describe it, because if we think about how their secrets, they always relate to their core wound, at least with humans, right? The things that we are ashamed about or want to keep private or secret, those are the things that hurt us the most, and we're trying to protect ourselves. So if you're having a hard time figuring out your character's core wound, you could start with their secrets. Or if you don't have a problem figuring out their core wound, then that makes it sort of easy to figure out what their secrets are. If I have this wound and I'm trying to protect myself, what are the kinds of walls that I'm going to put up?
Yes.
Including, go ahead.
And I'll add a bit to that and say, we've all seen movies or read books where we hope a character is saying what they really mean to another character, and they say something completely different. And that's because they don't speak what's really on their mind. It's more like what's meant underneath the subtext of it all.
Yeah.
It's challenging too to be able to communicate that, the unsaid things as well as the said things, but it's so worth it. So very, very nice. Love that. Stacy says, I have to come. Oh, so this is back to what Robert was saying earlier about plot versus character. I have to come up with the plot first because the character development comes more naturally to me.
Yeah, I think it does for most people. I mean, we kind of think of a synopsis for a story idea first.
Yeah.
But we end up backtracking and creating the characters and marrying the two together. I don't think, looking at newer writers, especially younger writers who don't have as much life experience, maybe there's a lot of intricacies to character that when backtracking, they don't always fit in there and make quite as convincing. And that's where a lot of self-published stories kind of fail, because the character isn't catching up with the plot. It's all
Right.
about world building. It's all about the magic system and the events. And they fit the characters in. And in their head, I'm sure they know, but it's
Right.
not quite translating to the page. And I think that would revolutionize self-publishing if they could meet the two. And
If they could get those two together. Well, I'm kind of interested by what you said, because I know authors that start with a character and build a plot from
Mhm.
there. I, like you, start with the plot and then create the characters to sort of play out the plot. And
Mhm.
my thing is always like, who would this be, this story goal for this plot that I have in mind? Who would this be hardest on? Like, who would struggle the most to accomplish this big story goal? And
Mhm.
that's what, right? And right back to the core wounds and your secrets and all that other stuff. Who is this going to be the most difficult for? Because as authors, it is our job to make trouble for our characters, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's it. We want to just torture them.
In the world
So-
and the conflict, I mean, that is the torture. But I also think a lot of writers could kind of up their game if they stop thinking about a hero and villain, because villains are hard for some people. And
They
if they
are
thought
hard for
about
some
them as
people.
having two protagonists instead of a protagonist and an antagonist, but
Yeah.
one is a little more,
Well, they have opposing goals.
yeah,
That's the difference between a protagonist and an antagonist. They're not necessarily Dr. Evil with the cat, and in fact, it's better when they're not, that they just have opposing goals.
yeah, they have opposing opinions on what they're going to do with the goal, because essentially the story goal is the same, but how they get there and what they're going to do with it is different.
Right.
And the villain might be involved in this thing even longer than the hero. His eyes have been on the prize for a while. Then the hero comes along and they're almost like an interloper or an
Right.
upstart.
They're just trying to mess things up.
They don't understand what they're doing. They can't possibly,
So everybody in the chat, let us know, do you start first with the plot or the character? I'm kind of fascinated to know this. All right, so Robert, we know you. How about actually, we sort of know you. We were talking about this kind of in generalities, but you really did start with the character, for at least for your Holmes books.
In this case, yes.
Yeah.
A lot of times it does come as a plot idea, but when I think of the circumstance of the world, I'll sometimes get that. Well, a lot of times I'll get that first, but then I go back to it and figure out how that competition between the hero and villain is going to play out.
Right.
And that's really what sets up the conflict in the world. The world may make it difficult, but the core story problem is between the hero and the villain usually, or the hero and whatever circumstances are against them, even if it's like a natural disaster, and that becomes the villain.
Exactly. Mama Ward says, made it through 2 chapters. Woohoo! And the back and forth between character driven and plot driven is the eternal author struggle. That is true. That is true. AH is here. Hello. Welcome. Doing Preptober and a new chapter sprint. Yeah. And we are very excited that you are here. Congratulations. Glad to have you. Mama Ward says, clearly tag their luggage. Scott Wire says that thinks that's good advice. You're so welcome. Abby had a great comment. As Michelle says, when people have secrets, they act suspicious, which adds tension to the scene. That
was from a video I did.
Yeah, I remember that video. It was a great video. In fact, you should, if you can access it during the sprint, maybe drop it in the chat so everybody can go look at it. So Maya struggles with making plots. I can think of situations, trademark, to put the characters in, but I really don't know how to string them together. So that's interesting that you say that. If you want, we can talk this through when we come back from our next sprint. Yeah, because I think it's a good question, but it's not. But it's going to take more time than we want to get through at least one sprint. So we're going to come back, Maya, and talk about this because I think it's such a good point that you make. All right. And also 1,000 Great Books. We will we will also answer your question when we come back. We've got some really great comments here. Cynthia says Stephen King said, "Don't let the plot ruin a good character." Right there, you go. Avi starts with a character. It's my favorite thing to discover who they are and what personality, what will emerge. I always have a hard time saying this word. Is it anagram? I think I'm pretty sure it's the anagram. Anyway,
Yeah, if you can
fantastic.
attach that character quickly to the idea with what their main want is or their life's ambition within that situation when it comes up, then you kind of get them running neck and neck, and it becomes easier than backtracking on all of it.
Yeah. So Lysandra starts with a title. I think there's definitely something to that. I do not start with the title usually, although sometimes I have, especially I think with a series, right? You're looking for a title that fits within the series and sort of that can kind of inform your plot, or the other way around. I guess it depends on how your brain works. But I think that's fascinating. The title comes generally fairly early to me, but I think that's because I have an advertising background, so it's like the headline. And but I always start with a blurb. That the back cover blurb is the thing that's like the basic nugget of the story for me. And of course I end up changing it by the time I get to the end of the book, but that's sort of the initial thing that I work off. All right, let's
we'll continue after. I had a thought, but it might take too long.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Robert. Okay. Let's go ahead and do our second 20-minute sprint. Dun, dun, dun. Here we go. All right. I'm going to put the timer up for 20 minutes. We're going to do another quick writing sprint, get some awesome words down today. And if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat and we will get to it ASAP. All right. Here we go. 3, All right. Fantastic. Welcome back, everybody. Let me go ahead and get this reset. There we go.
Cutwire has the question that I was just writing about, actually. So I have
Ooh.
an answer there.
All right. Fantastic. I need to like go back up. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Oh, that's a good one. All right. Let me get back with Maya's question. Oop, wrong one. We're gonna get to that one next. Boy, I got everything. I got the phone ringing over here. And all right, here we go. So Maya said, I really struggle with making plots. I can think of situations to put characters in, but I don't know how to string them together. Who wants to start with advice on this one? I think it's a great, I know a lot of authors really struggle with the same thing.
Yeah, I think there's so many different things you could do. It depends on, I think you should experiment. If you're, for example, like a visual person, you can write your situations, one on each index card, spread them out on the floor, start mixing things around, seeing what connections you make. You will probably trigger new situations and you might start to see connections. I think that's where I would start personally.
That's a great piece of, that's a really great piece of advice. How about you, Robert? What do you think?
Well, I confuse this in with the archetypal pairing that Cutwire is asking about, and they're kind of the same thing. Now, like when I was coming up with this novella, the scary story I was talking about, I got the idea from a dream. Now, the dream had characters, but they were cardboard. The real character was an entity that you would consider to be the monster in the movie. And often when we think of plot first, we kind of have a threat. Same with situations. We're thinking of a situation that's interesting. There's a threat somewhere in that situation. If you think of your threat, you automatically have your villain, or at least aspects of it. You're building your villain from whatever the threatening aspect of it is, or the monster is the villain in this particular piece. So if I understand what the monster is or what the threat is, the hero is just the other half of that, because your hero and villain are the flip side of the same coin.
Right.
So whether, if you have a situation or if you have a plot, you are planning from an archetypal point of view, because you have that single coin that both sides generate from. And your whole story, your whole cast, everything around it is built from that.
Excellent advice. I always start with the protagonist. So I think of some situation that they're in, and then I think about how that changes their existing situation, right? So if you have, because the situation is just another sort of step towards your inciting event, where you have a character who starts off their life as one way, and then something happens, a situation, something happens, or they could be in a situation and then something happens, and then they're on a path now where things are different, that they're sort of forced out of their house or their comfort zone or their shell or whatever else, and they've got to deal with this situation in order to, either what characters want to do is get back to the way things used to be. And sometimes that's available and sometimes it's not, but that's sort of the way to kind of get you started, at least with the plot. But I love your idea. Michelle, of doing scene cards or situation cards and putting them on the floor, even if you have, or a table, even if you have some missing parts, because just that, act of sort of moving them around, or maybe even kind of placing them into acts in the 3-act structure, even that is going to, like you said, is going to just spark some new ideas, and you'll start thinking, oh, what if I made them do this? And then once you figure out what their goal is going to be for the whole story, what is it there? And maybe, like I said earlier, they're in a situation and they're either trying to make the best of the situation, or they're trying to sort of stop it from preventing them to going back to their regular life. That's their story goal, one of those things. And so as you figure out what their goal is for the big story, then you can figure out, okay, who's going to stop them? Who's going to try and get in their way as they're trying to accomplish that? And all of those things can help you develop your plot from those situations.
And can I share one more thing?
Yes, of course.
This first. Would you mind making my screen big? Because I want to show something. Yep. It's funny because this is exactly what I did. Okay, so what I did is over here on this side of this notebook, all of these are situations. It's plot points that I don't know where they go into the plot yet, just scenes I see my characters in and I know I want it to happen. So I write them all down here first. And then over here on this circle, which is kind of like a hero's journey kind of thing, where it's like Act 1, Act 2A, Act 2B, Act 3. I just start looking over here and then figuring out where-ish could I see it over here in the circle. And I just kind of filled it out. You can always move them around or change them if you want to, but it helps you get, like, when you finish, you kind of have a general layout, and that helps you, I think, see the places where you can string them together.
I love that circle. I think we talked about that in a previous stream.
Yeah.
I love that circle idea. And especially because you can use those two bottom quarters if you're working in a 4-act structure or a 3-act structure. You just make the bottom two, both of your second act, which is always the longest one, or almost always the longest one. And so, I think that's such a great way. And also it's that thing again, where if you are struggling to come up with ideas, you can switch from your laptop to like paper and pencil, or, just that sort of changing how things look. So if you're doing it in a circle instead of a straight line, or you've got little scene cards that you're spreading out all over your floor, which I've done that many, many times, or like me, got the permanent whiteboard back there, moving stuff around. All of that can spark stuff in your brain. So I think that's really great. Avi says, I start with my character. It's my favorite thing to discover who they are and what personality. I think I already did this one. Let's see. I start with a scene. Sometimes it's from a dream or a daydream. Can be the last scene. Doesn't always remain in the book. I think that sort of gives you an idea. I remember, oh my God, what's her name? The author of the Twilight books.
Stephenie Meyer.
Thank you. Just escaped. She initially started the book with from a dream. She had a dream of of Edward and Bella lying in that meadow, sort of looking at each other. And I thought that was interesting because that's such a set piece in the book, and they kind of go back to it over and over again throughout the series. So I thought that was it's fun. It's kind of interesting because now we all can easily, part of that's the movie, but we can all pretty easily visualize that initial scene that she had imagined. So I think that's pretty cool. Mama Ward says, I start with a scene or two, sketch a plot, and then I interview my questions before I get deep into plotting and world building. And Mama Ward's got interview questions on the new Substack. Mama, would you please drop that link? I'm pretty sure you're a wrench. Would you please do me a favor and drop that link, if you wouldn't mind, to Mama Ward's Substack? I just talked about you and then talked about you in a different way. Would you please do that? Sorry, didn't mean to swap tense.
Question.
What was that?
I'm also looking at Maggie's next question about what if the thread is inside the hero.
All right, wait, hold on. Maggie.
It's right above the one you just started to put up.
I'm not seeing what. Can you copy and paste it into the bottom of the chat, Robert?
Let's see.
All right. And then while you're doing that, we want to answer the question for 1,000 Great Books. Is it a good idea to read books in the genre you're writing, or to avoid it so you don't get influenced by their style, story, etc.?
Oh, I have such strong feelings about that.
I do too. I think a lot of authors do. And I also think in any group of authors, you will get vastly different answers.
You will.
So whatever ends up being right for you is right for you. Don't feel like you have to do it like everybody else, because everybody's doing it differently. All right, Michelle, let it loose. Let's hear it.
This is a question you get in any, like with all artists. And for me, the first time it came up was when I was studying music, because young musicians like to say, well, I don't listen to the greats because I don't want to copy them. I want to create my own sound. And my response to that is the greats always listened to the greats who came before them,
Right.
copied them, and then created their own sound. Like I really think ignoring, like not listening to good music is not the way to become a good musician.
Right.
And not reading writing that you want to emulate is not a good way to become a writer. You got to read. That's my, both in your genre and outside of it.
Yeah.
And you will. Most young writers, hardly anyone just like has a brilliant, unique voice that springs forth the first time they write a story. It's a growing process. So you're going to copy some writers, and that's okay. That's part of it. You copy it to figure out why it works for them, and then you find what works for you.
Right.
Yes,
My opinion.
everybody starts out imitating somebody else,
Yeah.
but you find there's other influences you go along. And everybody that you're influenced by, you take little pieces from, and that usually becomes a part of your voice because you kind of build on that or fuse these things together, and it becomes who you are.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing to remember too is that there is nothing new under the sun, right? So a lot of times people don't want to read other books in their genre because they're afraid that they'll like, oh, I wanted to write a book about this, fake dating scenario, blah, blah, blah. But now I see somebody else has just written this book about this. And so I can't write my book. And that's wrong. The way that even if you start with, if Michelle and I start with the same premise, even the same blurb, and
Mhm.
we're like, okay, you're going to write this book. This feels like something we should totally do. we start with the same blurb, but we each write our own story about it. It would be dramatically different. They would be dramatically different
Oh
from each
yeah.
other.
That's actually an activity I used to do in writing workshops. I would give all my students the first line of a story, and then they would get 20 minutes to write a short story, and then we'd read them out loud and see how different they all were.
Right. And I think that's such a
Fun.
great exercise to illustrate that you really are. But the other thing too is I think when you read good writers in your genre or even bad writers in your genre, you're learning things. You're learning how to write a sex scene. You're learning how, like, you're seeing when you get really sucked into dialogue, what those authors do versus authors where you're not as sucked into the dialogue. So there are lots and lots of things. And like I said, I did an interview with Jill Shalvis for the podcast a couple months ago, and she's brilliant, New York Times bestselling author, has written, her backlist is insane, like hundreds of books. But she doesn't read anything in her genre. She doesn't write, like, we do a book swap where basically the other author on the podcast recommends a book to me and I recommend a book to them. And she said, like, I feel really bad because the book I'm going to recommend to you is really old because I never read in my genre. And I was just like, well, first of all, I was like, oh, that's so sad because you're missing all these incredible books. But also I know a number of authors who are like, I don't want to do that. So anybody else have anything to say? So my thought is, I agree with Michelle fully, and for all the reasons that Michelle had stated, I totally think it's a good idea to read books in the genre that you're writing.
Yeah. And
So-
and outside the genre, a lot of people that I've run
Mhm.
into are afraid to read outside their genre because they feel it's going to somehow pollute what they're trying to write, and they're going to be influenced in some other way. But
No.
good stories and good writing are still good stories and good writing. It doesn't take a genius to figure out the aspects of genre, but it does take a lot to figure out how to write well.
Yeah.
So read as widely as possible. That's one of the key points of advice that everybody gives and few people take.
Yeah. There's such benefit to that. And we never know the thing that's going to spark something else. So maybe it's something you read in a mystery, even though you write fantasy or even though you write romance, or it might be the Kung Fu class you took when you were 12, or it might be your mother's, world famous recipe for whatever, baklava or whatever it is. But all that stuff comes in there. Nora Ephron had a saying, which I think she got from her mother, as I recall, which was everything is copy. Basically, that every experience you have, every book you read, every song you sing, everything is copied. And I think that there's something really powerful about that.
Yeah.
And I will say,
every
ahead.
story is a little bit of a mystery. Every story has a love story. Every story has scary moments, and you learn to write those things more effectively by reading those genres.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. It's time for another sprint. We're going to have time for one more. All right. Here we go. Okay, I'm excited. We've had some great discussion today. Okay, here we go. We're going to put 20 minutes up on the timer. This is going to be our last sprint, so make it count. And we'll answer some more questions when we come back. All right, here we go. 3, It would help if I unmuted my mic. All right, there we go. Fantastic. How did you guys do on that last sprint? Let us know in the chat. Robert, how'd you do on the last sprint?
I did
Yeah.
well. The discussion is helping me to think of some things and to shape things more around what people are talking about. But the one answer for Maggie's question, and let
Did
me
we ever
back
did you drop it back in? Hold on.
I did. So did she. It's what if the threat is inside the hero? And my
Alright, hold on.
answer is it should be, because your hero always has an internal struggle. And when you're thinking of the villain or your opposition, it's a direct reflection of that. And the same
Absolutely.
goes for your villain. The direct reflection of the hero is what's in him, because it's like the yin yang symbol. They both have that tiny eye of each other. And
Yeah.
that's why, partly why they're in opposition, because the villain may have once been like the hero, or could almost have been the hero if they took a different turn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just about, it's as much about their similarities as it is their differences. And once you figure out their internal struggle, you kind of have the opposite end of the coin, although it's going to take a different shape and be more unique. But that's how you figure out your hero and your villain.
Yep.
Very cool. Thank you very much. Like, weirdly enough, could not find it's just not here. I'm not sure why StreamYard's given me trouble, but I'm glad that you explained it very clearly. Lysandra says 50% of her reading is outside of her genre. I think that's
excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this comment from Candace. Accidents can really make you rethink things. I don't know what that part is, but accidents can make you rethink things. I think that's true. Oh, and Mama Word had another really, really great comment about what we were talking about before, about whether or not you should read inside your genre. And that is that one of the advantages is learning which tropes you love and hate.
Mm-hmm.
And in particular, for a really trope heavy genre like romance, which is what I write, it's so important to know the trope. First of all, it's so important to know the tropes for whatever genre you write. But it's in romance in particular, it's really, 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 really important. And the funny thing is thinking about that, which tropes you love and hate, can sort of inform some of your choices going forward. I love fake dating, fake fiance rom-coms. I have always loved those. I am the first person in line when there is a new one to buy or one to watch on TV. And I had never written one. And last November, I was like, what is wrong with, like, this is my favorite trope. I should definitely write it. And I'm feeling, so the book that I'm writing now is the second book in the hockey romance, in my hockey romance series. And so I decided to do a fake dating romance or fake engagement romance. And I'm having I feel so much joy in writing it. It's called Cold Feet, which I thought was totally perfect for hockey and fake dating or fake engagement. And but I'm having so much joy in writing it. And I think part of it is that I just absolutely love this trope. There's so much fun to be had in it. So absolutely love that. How did you guys do? Ooh, look at you, Candace. Edited about 1,100 words. Nice. Very nice. And look who came to say hello. Oh, thank you so much. It's Savvy. Savvy, honey, you missed most of it. I'm sorry. Savvy, if you guys have not been over to Savvy's channel, you definitely want to check that out. And so normally, we sprint until 1:00, and that's what we're doing today. So I'm sorry you missed it, honey, but hopefully we'll see you next time. All right. So, Kanashi came back. What? After all this? Thank you so much. Love that. Love that. Mama Ward says, writing the tropes you hate upside down can be fun and a great challenge. That's interesting too. I think there's something, one of the things that I heard a lot about with at Novelists Inc., the conference that I just got back from, was about gamifying your writing. And one of the folks who spoke about that was Sarah Cannon. If you guys are not familiar with her Heart Breathings channel, she has done a lot of videos on this recently. But the idea of sort of gamifying your writing and, in order to kind of keep you on track and keep you inspired is pretty cool. And I think there's something interesting about like, how do I turn a trope that I hate into one that I love? So I always enjoy like second chance romances that are done well, but I always, but I hate that like, oh, we just had a misunderstanding. Like the challenge with writing second chance romances is that you have to make what the other party did sort of egregious enough to break up, or enough of a misunderstanding to break you up, but not so egregious that the readers won't be rooting for them to get back together. And and I don't know. I've done a little bit of that, but that's the genre that I'm kind of like, for me, it's like the one that I am dissatisfied with the most when I'm reading it. So love that. All right. So here is Savvy's channel. If you guys are not familiar with that, she does some really fun videos and you guys will love her to pieces. All right. We are all done. It's 1 p.m. everybody. So you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. We have a ton of questions that we did not get to this time, and we will definitely get to those next Wednesday. But before we go, let's go ahead and say our goodbyes. Robert, why don't you go ahead and go first? Tell us a little about you and your channel before we go.
Well, my channel is The Story Detective, where I put various forms of storytelling under a Sherlockian microscope and break down the craft to make the viewer's journey easier.
Excellent. And Michelle, tell us a little about you.
I'm Michelle Schusterman. I write middle grade and young adult novels. My channel is Writing Workshops, Traditional Publishing Chat, and Writing Blogs.
Very nice. I am Lisa Daly. I write contemporary romance, primarily rom-com, and as well as some nonfiction. And on my channel, we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. So we are here every Wednesday doing writing sprints. We will definitely be here every Wednesday during NaNoWriMo. And in fact, this stream started on NaNoWriMo, which is kind of fun. That's when we started doing sprints way back in the day. So you guys are awesome. I'm so glad that everybody got some good work done today, and we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.